Monica's saying, can you take us through how you would prototype? For me, if I want to prototype an idea, what I would do is I will start in Claude and I'll have a discussion with Claude. Claude just happens to be my kind of go-to AI for most things. So I'll talk about the fact that I want to build a prototype and have it talk me through what the most basic form of value is that I can deliver to prove that this prototype is useful. Very tempting to start to add on loads of features, but if we're building a prototype, we need to narrow down to the core value and strip everything else out. If it can't deliver on that core value, the rest is noise. It doesn't matter. I use Claude to go back and forth for that. I will say to Claude, okay, I'm going to build a prototype in Lovable. I use Lovable for vibe coding. I'm actually off to see them in a few days. I'm going to Stockholm to go and see Lovable. I will say to Claude, okay, I'm going to build in Lovable. Lovable uses these languages. I'm going to use a Superbase database. I just give it the specs about Lovable. I think it knows it already, but I like to provide that information. Please write me a project brief that I can take over to Lovable, and Lovable will build out this prototype step by step, at each step allowing me to check it's working before we move on to the next one. So Claude writes me the project brief. I then take that project brief over to Lovable. Lovable has a free trial, by the way, so you can play around with it. I think you get 5 credits a day. If you use my referral link, you get 15. I don't have it on me, but I can post it somewhere later. You give the brief to your vibe coding tool, whether it's Lovable, Bolt, Replete. Give it the brief and it's going to go ahead and build up your prototype. Sometimes it will work first time if what you're trying to build is very basic. If it can't, you might need to go back and forward with it a little bit, but it's basically like using ChatGPT. If you haven't used a vibe coding tool yet, it's pretty similar. You use natural language to talk to it. There are things you need to be careful of. Vibe coding tools can get into loops, for example, so you need to learn how to manage those kind of bug loops and asking it to step back. Maybe you take the problem out to Claude or another AI and then bring it back into Lovable. Generally, if your project is simple enough, Lovable will be able to create it in one shot. There are other issues to do with, the security is not high enough, etc., etc. Things that people use to criticize vibe coding, valid, but not in this case, because we are building a prototype, something very basic, which won't be taking credit card information. We probably won't even have a user sign-up flow. We're just creating something that allows us to test whether the idea works or not, whether there is any merit to what we're building, and we can share it privately with some beta testers that we trust. So that's how I do it exactly. I'd start in Claude, work out the project brief, move it over to Lovable, get the prototype done, share it with a couple of beta testers who I trust. No need to deploy it publicly because we are only prototyping it. So that would be my process.